Obviously, a disappointing ending, for us, but just, it's hard to put into words, but just real proud of our guys. Many of you know the story. 3 weeks ago, nobody thought we'd be here, and they hung together and got one game, away from making it to Omaha, and unfortunately, we had to come here. And played maybe the team that'll win a national championship, but certainly one of the best teams in the country. At a just an unbelievable environment. But just proud of the way what we've done, and it's just disappointing because it's a tough ending. Obviously today was all Arkansas, in every phase of the game. They were just so good offensively, and Scroggins, out of the bullpen was tremendous and really gave them a lift, and we just couldn't figure them out. But it was just their day. They were real good today, and I'm certain that they'll do real well next week in Omaha.
All right, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you for questions for the student athletes. Chip.
What was Cody Scroggins throwing today that you felt like he was very effective on, kind of keeping you guys off balance? What was he throwing that you thought was really good for him?
Well, obviously we knew Scroggins one of their best arms, and kind of one of the better arms we faced this year. It's just an electric fastball, and he kind of has a four-seam, two-seam, and he splits it half and half. A little bit of the speed difference. The four-seam just has a ton of ride on it, and the two-seam runs, and he's got pretty good location, and obviously the slider's pretty good. So, he was just locating his fastball. He wasn't missing up. He was staying at the knees, and he just had an awesome day. And yeah.
Okay.
For either of you guys, I know it's only been a few minutes since the conclusion of that game, but how are you able to process the season just from where you guys were a few weeks ago at Tennessee to the run through Hoover to the regional at home and where you guys are now? What are you able to look back on and think about kind of that stretch?
I think, my freshman year we weren't a very good baseball team. We competed in some games just because we were talented. Last year I think it was one of the better teams I've ever played on. It seemed like every game we were in and we never played bad. And I think this year was kind of a mix of both. We went through periods where we were just really dominant. We went through periods where it looked like we'd never picked up a baseball. But overall, just, proud of where we are right now. Like Coach Bianco was saying, nobody really thought we'd be at the last game of a super regional a few weeks ago. We had a 6-game losing streak, lost to Arkansas State in there. But, we turned it on when we needed to. SEC tournament, regionals, and super regionals, I think we looked like a completely different team all year. And we fought, and I think we were really competitive and really confident in what we could do, so really proud of this team.
Bob?
Yeah, at times you guys were obviously getting to Wicklander, but then Arkansas's bullpen, now those guys are all drafted, and so they're pretty good, but they didn't get many runs. What do you see from their bullpen?
Just like Cooper said, electric arms. It's really hard to hit when they have a lead like that, and we got to do a better job of scrapping and getting better at bats. You can't just lay down like that when it's 6-1, 9-1 when the score's like that. But you got to give a lot of credit to them. They're running guys out there that can all hit 95 and above. They were all locating today too, so they do have a really electric bullpen, like you said, and I think they're going to make it pretty far next week.
Bob?
For Cooper, I don't think Arkansas had scored more than 5 on you guys in the regular season in Hoover. And then today, obviously they didn't do very well yesterday, but the games 1 and 3, they had a lot of offense. What did you see different about them from their batters?
Just getting good swings off, ready for fastballs, and I think just the biggest thing is they were on every fastball that we threw just about, going in or out, and forced us to throw a lot of breaking balls. And I guess when everyone's swinging like that and swinging well, you string some hits together, everyone starts swinging differently, and the confidence just starts to build and build. And you saw it with them the first game, you saw it with us the second game, and back to them the third game. Hitting is contagious, So I think that that's a little bit of what happened day 1 and 3. But yeah, just aggressive, good at bats on the fastball, and healthy hacks.
Players, a lot of the guys in that locker room won't be here next year. So what's the emotion like? What was the emotion like after the game was over, knowing that this group, a lot of those guys won't be back?
Really haven't had much of a chance to think about it yet. But I know the way that, our team works is, we let everybody know everything that we're thinking. And, I don't think anybody has any regrets about what we did. A lot of people have gotten close with a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of continued relationships, baseball, outside of baseball. But, I think we truly we loved each other, even if it wasn't a guy that you were necessarily best friends with. We truly cared about everybody, and I don't think that we left anything out there. I don't think there's going to be any regret about any relationships that we had. I think we did it wholeheartedly. So, I think it'll be rough at first, but, it's something that you can hang your hat on.
Thomas and Cooper, if both of you would address this, given the way the scores had gone for the winning teams, the wind, the conditions, and all of that, did you think that today was going to be about the hitters, that you guys were going to have to hit well to win this game?
Personally, I thought, the first game was all them. The second game was basically all us. I thought today was going to be a little bit of a mix. It was going to be more of a dogfight. But, they got out to an early lead, made a few better swings than us. They just kept adding on. You got to give it to them. They didn't stop. And I think that's what a good offense does. When you get up, you just keep going. So I thought today would have, if I would have predicted, it would have been a little bit closer, obviously. But you got to tip your cap to Arkansas. Really talented team, and they really swung it this weekend.
Cooper, did you think this was going to be about the hitters today?
Yeah, I did. I kind of knew that with both guys throwing their Sunday guys, and the way that both teams had swung it the first 2 days, I knew that it was going to be an offensive day. And I wouldn't say worried isn't the right word, but anxious to be the team that got off to the hot start with the bats and kind of strung a couple, through the first punch offensively. And I think that they just threw a couple punches early and caught fire. So yeah, I knew it was going to be offensive, but we just didn't put enough good at bats together.
Cooper, obviously you and Thomas came in together. Just when you look back on 3 years, what do you think what will you remember about this class and what they accomplished?
Coming from up north, I came down here and what at first didn't kind of mesh with some of the guys, and I don't think that I understood a lot of them, and I don't think all of them understood me. And same thing with other guys. And over the 3 years, these guys have grown into my best friends and people that I'll continue to have relationships for the rest of my life. I couldn't have asked to be a part of something so great. And it's Oxford, Ole Miss, the team, staff, managers, trainers, everybody has just impacted my life so much. And I couldn't be more thankful and proud of the way we've grown since I was a freshman and till now, growing from boys into men, and off the field and on the field. I'm just so thankful.
I was probably one of the boys that Cooper didn't mesh with too well.
Probably so.
Right.
Expanding on that, you and Gray and Houston, you guys play here together, but also played high school ball together. Has it kind of had the moment to sink in that you guys have been playing together for 7-8 years now, and this might have been the last one?
Maybe a little bit. I've been playing summer baseball with Gray Kessinger every year since I was 11 years old. I've been trying to add up how many games we've actually played together, and I haven't gotten an exact number, but it's a little bit over 1,000. We've played. I've been behind him, at second base, catcher, first base, wherever I could be. He was always at shortstop. I joke around all the time. I've seen him play less than 5 games at a position other than shortstop. But, I think it goes beyond baseball. Gray's my closest friend that I'll ever have. I can tell him absolutely anything. He's truly my best friend, if not my brother. And, I started playing with Houston when I was 13. So, we've played 8 years of baseball together now. And, Houston's been kind of that guy for me too. We've been to high school together, all that kind of stuff. And just seeing them grow as baseball players, it's really cool seeing everything that they've accomplished, and really proud of both of them for obviously getting drafted and all that. But I mean, just the relationship that we've built with baseball is just something that I will forever be grateful for.
Thomas, looking to next year at the team, what are your thoughts on the young players and the experience this would have provided them going into next year as they try to make another run?
Obviously really excited about next year's team. I mean, you got to think, the weekend guys, we had Doug and Gunner, a lot of valuable experience this year. I mean, y'all saw what Doug could do. He was one of the more dominant pitchers in the SEC. And, Gunner showed a lot of flashes of that this year. So really excited what we got on the mound coming back with them. But, there were some guys that, we didn't expect to get a lot of production out of in the lineup. Maybe like a Kevin Graham. He really stepped up. I mean, 10 home runs as a freshman with not that much playing time. I mean, he played a lot, but he wasn't a starter every single day. I mean, it was just extremely impressive watching him hit, Obviously, Tyler Keenan, be a first-team All-American next year. I mean, he has one of the best swings, one of the better hitters I've seen. All sorts of guys coming back. Anthony Servidio's electric. Just different guys. There's a great incoming class. We got to be hosts for all of them in the football games this year. So, and obviously we'll always have him right there, and he'll lead them to. I'm confident what he can do. He'll coach them the right way. With Coach Clem and Coach Laff, be really exciting what next year's team can do for sure.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Gentlemen, thank you. Congrats on a great year.
Thank you.
All right, same thing for Coach Bianco. Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Chip.
Coach, congratulations on a good season, a good late season run. So this question is kind of conference as a whole. 4 teams from the SEC are going to be in the College World Series. How much does the strength of the SEC you feel like has an impact on all the teams going to the postseason?
Say that one more time. How much does the strength of the SEC impact
the entire, how you guys play in the postseason? In other words, every weekend you're playing tough teams. How does that
okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I've said it, many times that I think there's not a conference in the country that prepares you more for postseason than the SEC. It's just 10 weeks, 30 games. It weathers you. It thickens your skin. It humbles you. Unfortunately, it continued into the Super Regional. But I don't think it's a surprise of anybody that there's at least 4 teams in there, and I guess 3 from the West, and so again, it's one of those things that for 10 straight weeks, it's just a war that you have to go through, and I think it prepares you for this.
Coach, each team's different and each team's really special. What made this team special?
Wow, some of these questions are tough to answer, right after. But, this was a different team. As Thomas, I think, mentioned, last year's team was so good from start to finish and really didn't have a string where we played bad. This team was the total opposite, although we returned a lot of the same players where we were up and down, where there was some weekends we were as good as, any team in the country, and there were some weekends where we'd like to forget, and we just had a lot of that. And I don't, as a coach, I think you look back and you still scratch your head. Was it the pressure? Was it, the expectation, going into the season? But this team, I think will always be remembered for, being here. Unfortunately, it ended, one game short of Omaha, but a time where, and I've seen teams, not just at Ole Miss, but others where, you don't play well at the end, and you just go, what happened to them? They were real good. That would have been a shame for these guys, because there's too many talented players on that field, and so I think they'll be remembered for finishing, for playing well in Hoover, playing super last week at home, and just coming up a game short.
Bob?
Yeah, Coach, I think you mentioned in your opening you thought Arkansas has a shot to win it all. After playing them 8 times, what really impresses you about them? And also Dave is going to his 8th World Series, including this time in Nebraska. What do you think about the job Dave's done?
Well, first about Dave, one of the all-time greats, not just presently, but you watch what he's done at 2 different schools and all the success that Dave's had. It's amazing. As far as his team this year, they seem to have all the parts. Certainly in Omaha, where it's spread out and you don't need the starting pitching depth that maybe sometimes you do in tournaments and other types of tournaments. And of course with Campbell on the mound, it's hard to think that they would not be a favorite, with that offense. They play solid defense. They can run the bases. The bullpen is much better and has improved. I think, and I don't know, but when we were here in March, I think seeing them in the SEC tournament and seeing them here this weekend, the bullpen has gotten. Cronin's always been good, but the other pieces are much better now than they were in March, and so I think they have all the parts to have a lot of success in Omaha.
On the left.
Mike, it's obviously way too early, but looking ahead to next year, if you replace a lot, what could an experience like this do? And then also for Savidio and those guys, just stepping up to being those guys next year.
Again, one of those tough questions. You hope that going to postseason and the experience, and that probably where Thomas and Coop and that class missed out in their first year. Last year, as disappointing as it was, certainly I think that helped them this year when they got to postseason. A lot to look forward to. I mean, there'll be other days to be able to talk and go through it all. But and even though we'll lose a lot of key pieces from this team, and most of you guys know, we'll also return. Some guys, like Doug and Gunnar, in the rotation, and when you return 2, you're starting 3. That's a big deal. Some key position players, and an outstanding recruiting class that should be ranked in the top 5, when they show up. So, again, tough to think about now, but I think we'll be pretty good.
Parrish?
Mike, Cooper talked about wanting to throw the first punch in this game and that sort of thing. They started having some success with the bottom of the order there in the second inning against Gunnar. What did you see in Gunnar that you liked at that point to stay with him then?
Well, we needed some. The truth of the matter is we needed some length to get through the game. We had Miller and we had Caracci, but we needed a little bit of length, and we were hopeful. And I thought early on, it's hard to look back, but the second inning. I thought a huge at bat that turned the game was Nesbitt with a 1-2 slider that Coop actually went down to block, and he smokes down the left field line, and then Ezel's at bat where with 2 strikes he gets a big base hit. I thought those 2 big at bats in the second really just turned the game, and they're that type of offense. You hear momentum offense, and they are, and that's not to take anything away from them, that they can rush you in a hurry. And I thought, looking back at it, watching the video board, some good pitches that they handled, and were able to take the lead. And after that, we really didn't have an answer for them, and a lot of that, not taking anything from it. I thought we pitched tentative. They were just so good offensively. They hit some good pitches, and we couldn't throw the breaking balls into the strike zone. We fell into bad counts, and that offense will make you pay for that.
On the left.
Mike, the guys talked a little bit about processing this loss. What did you see from them in the locker room? How did they handle this, and what did you say after the game?
Yeah, those are tough questions. We haven't been into a locker room. We left the field and came over here. Obviously, when it ends, it's tough. You know, we always say losing stinks, but a lot of these guys won't put on an Ole Miss uniform anymore. And I think for a young person at 21, 22 years old, this is the first time that that's going to happen, but the realization, I think punches you in the face. And even in a game that's as out of hand as this game was, I think it's still a really an emotional time for them.
Bob?
Coach, Kerstad's obviously a really good hitter, but I think in the first 7 games you guys had held him to 4 hits. Was today just a matter of he's going to get you sometime? What did you think of his performance?
He's really good, and I wish I knew why we've had so much success against him. But today, I just don't think we were able to make pitches that we've made. We've some of it is when hitters don't do well. Some of it's just good fortune. The pitchers were able to make the key pitches and be in better counts. And when I look back at the 7 previous games, I think we a lot of that was just good fortune on our part, because when you look at his numbers, I mean, there's no doubt he's one of the best hitters in the country. We've been fortunate, today not so fortunate. We couldn't make some pitches, had to stay on the outer portion of the plate where he is so good, and today he made us pay for that.
Any more questions for Coach Bianco? Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.